Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. If you're currently studying for your PMP certification, or, just trying to navigate the modern landscape of project delivery, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're unpacking a monumental shift from the Project Management Institute. We're talking about the massive move from a rigid, process-heavy approach to a really dynamic, principle-based system. Honestly, it's a complete rewiring of how you need to think about projects.
Before we dive into the mechanics of all this, I want you to ask yourself a crucial question. Are you just managing processes, or are you actually delivering value? Really think about that for a second, because this right here represents the exact philosophical shift required in the updated standards. For the longest time, the industry was super focused on perfectly executing steps, but now, the ultimate measure of success is whether you actually created the intended value for your organization and its stakeholders.
All right, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for mastering this new approach. First, we'll look at the Great Paradigm Shift, then the 12 guiding principles, followed by the 8 performance domains, the art of tailoring, and we'll wrap up with a certification mindset. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The Great Paradigm Shift. We are officially moving from strict processes to guiding principles.
So, for decades, project management was taught as this very strict, process-heavy discipline, right? But a rapidly changing world really forced an evolution. The 7th edition of the standard marks a dramatic pivot. It intentionally abandons those rigid inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs, the dreaded ITTOs that haunted past test takers, in favor of a highly flexible methodology. And this new methodology is focused entirely on delivering value across the whole delivery landscape, from predictive all the way to adaptive.
A great way to think about it is like this. The old 6th edition was basically a strict recipe book. If you deviated from the exact ingredients or steps, well, you ruined the cake. But the 7th edition, it's much more like culinary school. It teaches you how flavor profiles actually work together. That way, you can adapt to whatever ingredients you happen to have in the kitchen and still bake something absolutely incredible. You're not just blindly following steps anymore, you're adapting to achieve a real outcome.
Moving on to Section 2, the 12 guiding principles. Let's zoom out and look at the new foundation of a project manager's mindset.
If you're prepping for your certification, you really need to think of these 12 principles as your ultimate mindset. These are not prescriptive checklists. Instead, they're fundamental truths that govern your behavior. So when you get a situational question on the exam about, say, team conflict or navigating complexity, your answer has to align with being a diligent steward, recognizing system interactions, and embracing adaptability. That's the secret sauce right there.
All right, Section 3, the 8 performance domains. If the principles are your mindset, this is where you actually put that mindset into action.
Now, unlike the old knowledge areas that were pretty much treated sequentially, these 8 domains are interactive, interrelated areas of focus. And here's the kicker. They run concurrently throughout the entire life of your project. You don't just plan once and then move on to delivery. Nope. You're constantly navigating stakeholders, managing your team, tweaking your planning, and handling uncertainty all at the exact same time to make sure you hit your targets.
It's a really brilliant mental map when you think about it. The 12 principles basically sit like an umbrella at the top, constantly pointing down and guiding your behavior across the 8 performance domains below. Because they operate as this deeply integrated system, a change in one domain, like let's say you spot a new uncertainty, well, that immediately impacts your planning or your team focus. It's all connected.
Let's look at how this plays out in the trenches. When you're operating in the project work performance domain, you're in the thick of it, actively establishing processes, managing physical resources, handling procurements, and keeping the team totally focused. But remember, every single action you take here is still governed by those top-level principles, like maintaining a focus on value and building in quality right from the start.
Concurrently, you're also operating in the measurement performance domain. But you aren't just ticking off completed tasks like a robot, you are actively evaluating if the work is actually delivering the intended value against your planned metrics. This is exactly where generating actionable data and reliable forecasts allows you to make rapid, informed decisions.
That brings us to Section 4, the art of tailoring. This is all about deliberate adaptation for completely unique projects.
Look, because every single project is entirely unique, one size absolutely does not fit all, period. So tailoring is your deliberate adaptation of methods, governance, and life cycles to suit your specific environment. Honestly, it's your project management superpower. You don't just blindly follow a template anymore. You actively select the right tools for the job, driven by organizational values and, of course, those guiding principles we just talked about.
But keep in mind, tailoring isn't just randomly changing things on a whim. It requires a structured, progressive approach.
It is a very deliberate, four-step process of adaptation.
If you're studying for your certification, definitely memorize this procedural flow. First, you select your initial broad approach. Is it predictive, agile, or maybe hybrid? Second, you customize it for the overarching organization's guidelines. Third, you refine it down to the specific needs of your individual project. And finally, step 4, you implement ongoing improvement, constantly inspecting and adapting as the project evolves.
And finally, Section 5, the certification mindset, shifting the focus entirely to value delivery.
So often, candidates get incredibly bogged down trying to memorize massive charts of inputs and outputs. Please don't fall into that trap. The real key to exam success today is proving that you can pivot. You need to show you can move from managing strict checklists to navigating really complex, ambiguous scenarios with a laser focus on delivering holistic, organizational value.
If you take away just one thing from this explainer today, let it be this powerful synthesis from the standard itself. Principles guide your behavior, performance domains focus your actions, and tailoring makes it all work for your unique situation. If you can master how those three forces interact, well, you've essentially mastered modern project management.
As you prepare for your exam, and of course your next big project, I want to leave you with this final thought to ponder. In a world of constant change, is your project team agile enough to deliver true value? Remember, the modern standard isn't about achieving the perfect process anymore. It's about delivering the perfect outcome.